Neocoma Kings. I'm standing in front of the Crispus Attucks Black Museum. This museum is attached to the school that I went to, high school, Crispus Attucks High School, historic high school. So we're gonna go in, meet the curator, let him give us a presentation, what the museum is all about. Crispus Attucks.
All Black High School in Atlanta.
Okay. You're good. Good.
All Black High School in Atlanta.
So this is the curator, Mr. Robert Chester, old friend of mine.
We would like to welcome Coma House Initiative and the Coma Kings to the Indianapolis Public Schools Crispus Attucks Museum, the only all-black museum attached to a functioning public high school in America. We welcome you all. We appreciate your interest. We encourage you all to do good things in life, build, grow, connect, expand, above all, lead. Crispus Attucks High School is America's most celebrated high school. This is a school that came about through racism in Indianapolis at the turn of the 20th century. This is a high school that was forced into existence by the most notorious terrorist organization in America at the turn of the 20th century, known as the Ku Klux Klan. It was all set up to be used for foul purposes, but the black community managed to use it for divine purposes. And ultimately, we are now the most celebrated high school in America.
Wow.
We'd like to just point out the fact that Crispus Attucks, the man that we adorn's name on the building in honor, is a rebel, a trailblazer, and one who escaped slavery at the early inception of slavery in America, when we were only 13 colonies on the East Coast. So we honor Crispus Attucks the man because his courage, his strength, his determination is what we're all about here. And there is no better name to adorn this place than that of the man himself, Crispus Attucks. March 5th, 1770, known as the Boston Massacre, he gives his life, and we now celebrate and enjoy his martyrdom for our liberation. Cool. We are a celebrated high school with countless authors who write books, who produce video documentaries over how excellence triumphed over evil. The premier American, all-American story is this story, Crispus Attucks High School. And when the Klan was enforcing this school into existence, they had no idea that we would end up thriving in this manner with a state-of-the-art museum attached to the school, winning up all the state championships, city championships in basketball, academia, medicine, military. We are addicts. And in doing so, we have shown the world how to act, how to respond in the face of diversity, in the face of racism and bigotry, and in the face of violence. Dr. King also gave us a prime example. So with all these profound men and women, descendants of American slaves that we have to use as examples, some are long gone. There's no reason why we are not all celebrated in a totally free, mentally, spiritually, financially, socially, politically manner. Freedom is ours. But it's only to those who dare reach for it. They say we're free, but you're still in bondage until you literally remove those shackles from your brain, from your mind. And then let the possibilities and wonders that continue to manifest themselves ceaselessly, let them take hold and transform our lives and our world. This is a new day. Happy Black History Month, but more than that, happy Blackness. And keep our lives, keep our world, keep our communities, keep our families relevant in a manner that we're always celebrating our challenges, our overcomings, our triumphs. The bitterness and the sting of slavery, the tears, the mourning, it's all over. We're now celebrating. You can hear, you may not can hear the laughter and the chatter in the background. There's a celebration, there's a party going on because we have survived the most virulent, ruthless, deadliest, demonic form of human destruction the world has ever known, and we're still surviving, thriving, and growing more stronger, brilliant, brighter than ever. The world wants to know, how did this race of black people do what they've done unlike anything anyone else has done on the planet in human history? It's because the chosen ones are not who been saying they're the chosen ones. Those who are the descendants of American slaves were the chosen ones, because our ancestors were chosen, kidnapped, snatched, brought here, did what they did to survive, to produce us. And now we're carrying on their legacy. We're carrying on their DNA. We're carrying on their dreams, their tears, their laughter, their struggle. And of course, the bloodline. Mm-hmm. We are those beautiful chosen ones. And you can say God's chosen. I'm not getting into the religious aspect of it. I'm getting into the ones who was chosen off the west coast of Africa. The chosen ones. That's us. Countless artists, musical artists, who adorned and mastered their crafts on their historic Indiana Avenue, went on to do great things with their craft and their talent and their instruments across America and the world. And although most of them are long gone, your Freddie Hubbard, J.J. Johnsons, Theodore Gentry's, David Baker's, Wes Montgomery's, the Hampton Sisters, they're long gone now. However, their legacy is still intact. Their music is still being played all over. We're still enjoying it, and we're still talking about these profound men and women today. We're still celebrating them today. We share with 90% of our guests that enter the museum. We are making sure they know that Indiana Avenue was the black hub, baby Harlem of the Midwest. When all the profound things was going on in the 20s in Harlem, funded by Madam C.J. Walker's money through her daughter, Alelia Walker, there was a smaller version of all that going on right here in Indianapolis, but the talents were just as big. It's just the neighborhood and the area was slightly smaller than the Harlem area. Mm-hmm. But we are that baby Harlem of the Midwest. Of course, we are in Oscar Robertson territory now.
Yeah. He was honored last week, right? At the NBA.
Yep. And
All-Star game.
Erect a statue of him right outside here.
Oh wow.
First all-black high school in America to win a state championship, 1955. Did it again in 1956. Went undefeated that entire year. The Big O. Team leader, team captain, the man to this day who transformed the game of basketball. You could honestly say this is the man who wrote the book on basketball, Hoosier basketball. And although we know of a movie that was released in the 80s called Hoosiers with Gene Hackman and so many other profound actors, that movie, they claim, told the story of Milan High School in here in Indiana. But the truth is, if you go back and study that movie, you will see that's Crispus Attucks High School story. And also, at the very end of the movie, when the winning team wins, the losing team loses, one of the most winning coaches in basketball high school history, Coach Ray Crow, they gave him a role in the movie, Hoosiers, but they gave him the role as the losing coach. So at the very end of the movie, Hoosiers, you will see a young Ray Crow put his head down and walk off the basketball court in defeat. one of the most winningest coaches in high school basketball history couldn't even play the role as the winning coach. In the movie, he could have played it. He was not allowed to play the role. So we celebrate that. It was a challenge. It was a struggle. It was an issue. It was part of the reality, but it's still part of the celebration as well. And here at the Champions case, we can highlight the boys' championship basketball team, but we can also highlight sports excellence in the field of professional boxing. 3-time light heavyweight champion of the world, Marvin Johnson. Life-size image of him there. This is a man who, through the power of suggestion, became 3-time light heavyweight champion of the world. Just when he was a sophomore here, just by allowing one of his teachers to call him champ, even though he was not a boxer, he knew nothing about boxing, just by allowing them to call him champ, and he was not scared to dream big. Those few little words and those awesome dreams catapulted him into the Hall of Fame of boxing, championship 3 times, championship robe, commemorative federation, boxing federation gloves, Marvin Johnson. They call him, some call him Pops. His nickname is Pops. Still very active, very approachable, very jovial. Probably want to go, let's go in a different direction. The Red Tails. World War II. The Tuskegee Airmen were black fighter pilots who were not allowed to fly and fight during World War II until so many white fighter pilots began to abandon their missions. The missions were banned because the firepower Hitler was putting out was too strong. And the next thing you know, white fighter pilots began abandoning their missions in large numbers. Ultimately, they were forced to put these black pilots up in the air, and the long story short, they end up taking control of World War II, winning the air battles and air fights, and as history shows, they lost a few of their lives, but they never lost one of those fighter pilots, bombing pilots, nor did they ever lose any of their missions. The Red Tails, Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. I'm about to go get some tissue. Oh, my nose. Give me just a minute, bro.
Okay, I can pause.
In August of last year, 2023, Unmasked. It's the 1935 Anti-Lynching Exposition and Community Remembrance in Indiana, but it's an various artist rendition of the history of lynching in America, highlighting the 1930 Marion, Indiana lynching, where James Cameron, Thomas Shipp, and Abe Smith were all accused of raping and killing a woman and a man, and white man and woman, and ultimately 2 of them lost their lives and 1 managed to survive through lynchings, and ultimately became known as the last northern lynching in America. And we still honor the men, honor the victims, honor the families, but even more than that, we constantly are building and erecting exhibits like this so the world, particularly America, but the world can come and learn about this American situation, this American disease known as lynching. And do it, let's take a walk. You're coming into various artists' experience on lynching. This is a rendition of a Martin University professor, a lady professor, Dr. Dottie. This is her contributions to the history of lynching in America. And here's the late Brother Spalding, John Spalding's artist sculptor rendition of American lynching, titled The Lynching, along with several other wonderful pieces of art by men and women. And all we're saying and doing here is celebrating. We're not mourning. We're not in a vindictive manner where we're planning retaliation. No, we're showing, look at what we survived. All of this inhumane madness, we survived it. So we celebrated. We're in full celebratory party mode. All the tears have been dried. The mourning is over. Now we're in the healing, rebuilding, and celebratory stages. And of course, during this Indiana Remembrance Coalition, we have to highlight the woman behind it all. This is the founder of this museum. And you know, it brought me to tears a few nights ago, because it was during, actually that was during January, Dr. King month. We had a Dr. King program here, and I saw this beautiful queen standing on the stage for the 45th year facilitating the Dr. King program, and at the end of it, such an overwhelming feeling came over me that I didn't even realize prior, because Dr. Gilbert Taylor, the man mastermind behind it, he's gone. Dr. Payne and myself, we're the only two original founders of the museum left. And the other week, when she was on that stage, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because she's well in her 80s now and is out having a hip replaced. So I'm standing up there looking at her and I'm thinking, Lord, we're the last of it. But not only are we the last of it, we're just beginning though. That's the kind of scary but complex aspect of it. We're the last of that original group. But we're now just getting started after navigating the political waters and doing what we had to do to make sure this thing is firmly affixed to this building and funded. So now here we are honoring this woman and so many others for giving us this beautiful gift. And then I'm so honored that out of all the so-called black conscious people, they know and knew. They passed over all of them and reached and grabbed me 25 years ago. And I'm just now beginning to learn the significance of that. They knew what they were doing. And I used to think, why me? She told me recently, because we've been watching you longer than you knew we was watching you. They was watching me when I had El Hodge International over there off of, what was that, Boulevard, 40th and Boulevard?
Yeah.
And I wrote and produced a Black History Anthem, Footprints song. They said, do what you said in that song in this space, when this was still just a gymnasium. So we are now trying to just give back a little bit of what we've been given. And I'm honored to have grown gray in this building and can clearly remember coming in here young, energetic, not taking no from no one, and look up, seemed like just yesterday, and all the black hair and beard is gone and now it's all gray. But I can't think of a better, more profound, noble, honorable, worthy way of spending several decades or a lifetime than deeply indulged, engaged, entrenched in culture, research, documentation, building, designing. This is the most sacred work. I know we had a group that just left that's claiming religion as the most important. No, this is the most important work and will always be the most important work. Now we just got to get the masses to see and understand that this is the most important work we got going today. You want to step around somewhere else, or do you want to?
I'm good.
Let me point out this gentleman over here, and we can call it a day after this one if you want.
Okay.
Or we can find another location. George Tallaferro.
Yeah.
He's deceased now. He passed away a few years ago. His wife, Viola Talaferro, back in the back.
Judge.
Wedding picture.
A judge, yeah, right.
Yeah, she's the first black female judge in child court somewhere here in the state of Indiana. He, George Talaferro, he was the first black man drafted into the NFL. He was the first black man drafted into the NFL. He was drafted into by the Chicago Bears, but then he became the first, not only the first black man drafted into the NFL, he also became the first black male quarterback in the NFL. Can you imagine a black quarterback? That was a position always reserved for white men.
True.
But today we have black quarterbacks all over the place. But we're talking about in the 40s and in the 50s when George was doing his thing. What personally connects me with this profound man and his lovely wife is when we held the NFL Super Bowl here in Indianapolis back in, I want to say 2012, I think it was. Very few people knew anything about George Talaferro. They hadn't heard of him. They forgot about him, wrote him off until the day before the Super Bowl, the Saturday before Super Bowl Sunday. We did a standing room only event here featuring, out of all people, George Talaferro. And he told a story about racism in sports and in history and in education that still resonates to this day. Here's his original helmet from his high school years, just a piece of leather. Here's his original cleats from his championship cleats from his high school years. And after we brought him back out of obscurity, I started receiving phone calls from all over the country because our event made national news. People from all reporters and organizations from all over the country began reaching out asking if I wouldn't mind giving them his information. They wanted to talk to him. They wanted to do what we did. IU Bloomington, which is his alma mater, learned about it. They sent a bunch of people up here to be a part of the event. Then turned around and asked if they could have these items to put on display at Bloomington. And me being the softy that I am, I said, sure, if that's where you all want to put his stuff, go ahead and put it in Bloomington. This man stood up and spoke up for me and said, no, don't give them nothing. You are the one that called and reached out to us. Bloomington didn't reach out to us until after you did. And now they wanting you to relinquish to them? No, you keep it in your museum. So I love that man. And the extreme personal connection is, at the end of that busy day prior to the big game, we had a lot of TV and radio interviews all over the city and outside of the city. But at the end of the day, it was time to take them to the hotel. And he asked, so where are we going now? Well, we already had dinner. I said, I'm taking you all to your hotel downtown here. Then I'm going to go in and get some rest, and I'll be back in the morning to pick you all up. And he said, so our hotel is downtown? Yes, sir. He said, no, we do not want to stay in downtown Indianapolis. We want to stay with you. And I'm like, okay, come on, you all come home with me. So long story short, this man and his lovely wife slept in my bed. They dreamt dreams on the same pillows I dream dreams on. And to this day, that was back in 2012, to this day, I have had very few experiences like that with George and Viola Talaferro. By the way, Talaferro, Booker T. Washington is Booker Talaferro Washington. Booker T. Washington and George Talaferro are cousins. And very few people know that, but they are in fact blood related. George Talaferro, that's a powerful man there. I need to update his exhibit because since then he's passed away.
Okay.
I'll point out one more thing for you real quick, for you gentlemen.
Well, these are nice here.
You want to go right here?
Yeah,
Okay.
What we got here?
Right here we're dealing with assortment of different animal hide, fur, We're dealing with various authentic West African statues. What we are seeing is what is known as developed civilizations. These are just over a century old, each of these, but you can't be of a nomad culture. You can't be of a hunting and gathering culture and producing artwork like this. So in ancient history, in pre-dynastic history, or throughout the dynasties, anytime you come across intricate artwork, hand-carved, handmade artwork from ancient civilizations, that is the telltale sign that that was a developed civilization. Because hunters and gatherers and nomads, they move with the water supply, they move with the herd, wherever the cattle moves that they hunt and they keep them alive, they continue to move. They don't have time to sit down and carve statues, and then what you gonna do with them? You can't carry it with you everywhere you're going as nomads moving around, hunting together. So when you see intricate hand-carved, handmade art, these are signs of developed civilizations of our distant past. So while the oppressor and others misuse information and outright lie and say these were heathens, these were savages, they did nothing to promote enhanced civilization, you judge for yourself. Along with all of this wonderful work. This is not of hunting and gathering tribes. These are not of nomads. These are well-established civilizations producing sculptures, relics that suggest and describe certain aspects of their culture, their community, their belief system, their religion. And in doing so, we acquired a bunch of this work that we just honor and cherish. And what's out on the floor, we're under construction, so I got a lot going on. And we've taken a lot of it down. But actually, this stuff here doesn't even belong up here. I just set it up there. It actually was hanging on the wall.
Okay.
And it'll go back up there once they come in and wrap the walls and finish up what they're doing. But
Cool.
what's most important is this right here. Knowing that all of this, large portions of this, through pre-dynastic history, was one large landmass. Some called it Terra, some called it Pangea. It was known by different names. And then as plate tectonics, earth shift, earthquakes continue to do what they do as we speak, the land masses continue to gradually begin to spread and move distance apart. There are rivers that run through the continent of Africa and stop and then pick back up over here. So under the same name, same river, which is testament. And then if you just stand back and look, you can see this was at one time just like a one big jigsaw puzzle. But my point is, right here, and right up in there here, this is the oldest civilizations known to humanity. And there's nowhere we can find human civilization older than this. But now we can go into Timbuktu and other ancient civilizations that came after this that did just as profound, great work. Timbuktu is the location of the ruins and remains of one of the earliest, most advanced universities on the planet, black universities. And remnants of it still stand today. And most people hear the word or the name Timbuktu, they think it's part of a joke or something. But in fact, it was a real place. It is still a real place on the map, on the global map today. So that leads us into this. The original works of black culture. I recently had a group of, it's happened many times before, but most recently it was a couple of weeks ago. I had a all-white student group, university group from Western Indiana here. And as we concluded our tour, the white professor asked, why do you have a pyramid in a black museum? And I answered it with the same question that I answer all of that, each person that asked me that question. And that is, why do you not know why this pyramid is here? Because we've been taught that Kemet, or Egypt, is in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. But Kemet, or Egypt, is in Africa, northeast tip of Africa. And only through the geographic movements of the land that it has broken off from the continent of Africa, has moved and shifted from the other aspects of the continents, surrounding continents, that they can get away today with saying, or they have gotten away, saying it's the Middle East. But if you just focus in on where it's located, where is Egypt, where is Kemet, what surrounds it, what are the cultures and civilizations around it? Kemet means black land. Nubia, just south of Kemet, means black head. True. So you have the black land and the black head, or the black headed and the black land. The black land was talking about the silk coming up out the Nile. Each year when the Nile overflowed its banks, it would leave such a rich, fertile soil, jet black, that you could stick anything in it and it would flourish. Which is why cotton, Egyptian cotton, is the most expensive, the most fine cotton on the planet, because the soil that it is grown in and harvested in is of the most richest, fertile soil on the planet. Then you go beneath there, you have Nubia, the black-headed. These are just that, black-headed people, which is where Kemet got all their gold. All the gold comes out of Nubia. We have been a wealthy people on this planet ever since we've been on this planet. And guess what? We didn't even start on this planet. And this is getting into a whole different story, but I'm going to end on this. Our dear Dogon brothers and sisters, they've been telling us for over 50, 60 years that they came from Sirius.
Right.
They're not trying to receive national acclaim or get their face on TV or in the newspaper. These are some beautiful jet black people over there in Africa to this day that are just still saying the same thing. We didn't come from this planet. And long before technology was able to create telescopes to see the far distance, to separate the light and focus in and realize there are planets circling another planet. These people said, we've been telling y'all that for centuries, that it's a light blue planet, and then there's another planet circling that one. We're from that one. That bright blue one is Sirius. We're from Sirius B. And no one believed them until we were able to get technology to catch up with their claims. And once these white scientists and others realized that the Sirius star system is exactly what these people described it to be, then how are we going to explain that to the masses that these heathens knew what they were talking about? So the master liar just came up with his simple master lie. It was just a lucky guess. These people weren't guessing. They knew exactly what they were talking about, and they still know exactly what they were talking about and what they are talking about. And these are some of the earliest human beings brought to Earth, period. The planet Earth, from another planet. And we can go into that because we can at a later date, because I am blown away that the masses, black, white, yellow, brown, believe that all this humanity was created on planet Earth. Now, we were born on Earth, but what these people are talking about is a time before humanity was on Earth. And they said they originally cohabited Kemet. They said they named it Kemet. They said they left Kemet to protect the sacred knowledge after it got too crowded and too busy up in Kemet. Now, the first question that come to mind to me was, okay, what's the sacred knowledge y'all protecting? That goes back into that series. They're coming from different traveling the stars. So you go into Kemet and you go into the tombs. You know, in the ancient walls, you can see hieroglyphic, the medu netta, the stairs has been there for centuries. Some of that medu netta, that plaster and whatnot is now falling off, is revealing what they've been hiding, the powers to be, have been hiding for years, for centuries. And what is it? What they've been saying. They've been transferred from the stars. Tomb in Africa, a tomb in Egypt that was covered in plaster, the hieroglyphics, they covered it centuries ago, hiding what was behind it. All of a sudden now we can read the medu netta and the plaster starts crumbling. Lo and behold, what's behind that plaster is what we call images of helicopters, airplane, blimps, UFO, flying discs. It's all there, and it's been there for centuries, for millennia, on top of millennia, on top of millennia. So today, they do not put plaster up to cover up what they want to hide. They just hire commoners in that area, pay them with a day's worth of beer and a day's worth of bread, give them a chisel and a mallet, and take them to the tombs and point out exactly the medu netta they want them to chisel out. And why are they chiseling out? Because these are the incriminating evidence to prove that everything white man has taught us is false, starting with our own identity. And if you want to know and see something that is truly sacrilegious, pull up some of those high definition videos watching those brothers over there chisel out the sacred writings that's been there for millennia. All because it doesn't jive with American teaching, particularly on religion. And I can wrap it up there. We can go on and on and on and on because it never ends. I would like to take this final moment to thank the Acoma House Initiative and the Acoma Kings for joining us this Black History Month 2024. We commend you all. We celebrate you all. We love you all. We're rooting for you all. We need you all to take hold to your identities, to your enlightenment, to your academia, and help us lead America. We need you all to break free from the followers. We need you all to come into a knowing, pure knowing of yourself. We need you to not want notoriety and fame and fortune more than you want independence, freedom, equality, enlightenment. And in doing so, we can bring about a brand new day for everyone, which should be our mission. Make the world a better place for us all, particularly those coming. So we salute you all. We thank you all, and peace and blessings.
Yeah, Acoma. Thank you.